Welcome to Daily English Stories. Every story hides a world. Some inspire, some haunt, some stay forever. Chapter 1. The Unexpected Rain. It began as an ordinary morning. I stepped out of my house with my bag slung over my shoulder, the soft hum of the city already in the air. The streets were alive with their usual rhythm. Shopkeepers raising shutters, children hurrying to school, bicycles weaving through traffic. The sky was pale, a thin veil of clouds stretching far and wide, but nothing unusual enough to make me pause. I walked steadily, lost in thought about the day ahead. My mind wandered to the errands I had to run, the emails I hadn't replied to, the tiny details that fill a routine life. I didn't notice the wind picking up or the darkening shade of the clouds until the first drop touched my cheek, light, almost playful. I glanced upward, another drop, then another, and then, as if the sky had been holding its breath all morning, the rain came down in a sudden, heavy rush. Within seconds, the streets transformed. People scattered for shelter, raising bags and jackets over their heads. Cars slowed, their headlights cutting through sheets of water. The air filled with the soft roar of rainfall, a sound both chaotic and strangely soothing. I didn't have an umbrella. For a moment I stood frozen in the middle of the sidewalk, feeling the water soak through my shirt, dripping from my hair. Then instinct took over and I ran, dodging puddles, slipping past startled passers-by, until I spotted a small, dimly lit shop tucked between two tall buildings. It wasn't a place I'd noticed before. The sign above the door was faded, the windows lined with old books and tiny plants, glistening with raindrops. I pushed the door open, a little bell chiming overhead, and stepped inside. The air smelled of paper and rain-soaked earth. The walls were lined with shelves, each one crammed with books of different colors and sizes. A single lamp burned on the counter, casting a golden glow that made the rain outside seem even grayer. I shook the water from my hair and moved toward the window, watching as the world blurred behind a curtain of falling water. People dashed by with umbrellas like bright petals scattered in motion. Cars splashed through puddles, leaving ripples that spread and faded. The city's usual noise softened under the steady drumming of the rain, and for the first time all day, I felt still. As I stood there, I realized how different everything looked through the glass. The trees, soaked and shimmering, seemed greener. The sky, though heavy with clouds, carried a strange calmness, and the people, hurrying, laughing, complaining, looked like tiny stories unfolding in the storm. I didn't know how long I stood there, watching the rain. Minutes stretched, my thoughts slowing like the rhythm of the droplets sliding down the window. My usual worries felt distant, softened by the sound of water against glass. It was just me, the rain, and this little shop that felt like a secret tucked away from the world. Outside, the storm continued. Inside, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Quiet, a space to breathe, a moment that asked nothing of me, but to simply stand and watch as the day transformed. And so, in that unexpected rain, my ordinary day began to change. Chapter 2. A Stranger's Kindness. The rain kept falling, steady and unrelenting, drumming softly on the shop's roof. I stayed by the window, my breath fogging the glass, as I watched the world outside its ripple and blue. Time slowed in that little haven, and for a while I didn't notice the man who had stepped in behind me. He carried an old umbrella, its fabric patched in places, dripping water onto the worn wooden floor. He nodded politely to the shopkeeper, then glanced around before settling on a seat near the window, just a few feet from where I stood. He was older than me, perhaps in his late 40s, with kind eyes and a face lined in a way that spoke of both hardship and humor. For several minutes we sat in silence, strangers sharing the same quiet refuge. Then he spoke, his voice low and gentle. "Beautiful, isn't it?" I turned surprised and met his eyes. "The rain?" I asked. He smiled faintly. "Yes, it has a way of slowing the world down. Makes you notice things you forget to see." I nodded, unsure what to say, but he didn't seem to need much prompting. He leaned back in his chair, watching the droplets race down the window. "When I was younger," he continued, "I used to hate days like this. I thought rain ruined plans. But now, I think sometimes plans need to be ruined. Otherwise, we never stop to breathe." Something in his words struck me. Maybe it was the calm way he spoke, or the truth hidden in that simple thought. I found myself saying quietly, "I was in a hurry today. I thought this rain was just bad timing." He chuckled softly. "Maybe it's the best timing you've had in a while." We shared a smile, a small one, but real. Outside, the storm began to lighten, the heavy sheets of water thinning into a soft drizzle. The man stood, shaking the water from his umbrella. He turned to me and hesitated, then said, "Do you have an umbrella?" I shook my head, embarrassed. He held his out toward me. "Take this. I have another one in my car." "Oh, I can't." "Please," he interrupted gently. "I've been caught in the rain enough times to know how cold it feels. It's just an umbrella. But maybe it makes your day a little easier." I accepted it slowly, the handle still warm from his grip. "Thank you," I whispered, unsure how to express how much that small gesture meant. He simply nodded, smiling once more before stepping out into the soft rain, walking away with the calmness of someone who understood life's rhythms better than most. I stood there holding the umbrella, feeling a warmth in my chest that had nothing to do with the shop's glow. In that brief encounter, a stranger had reminded me of something I often forgot, that even on gray days, kindness can bloom like sunlight. The drizzle softened further, the clouds parting just enough to let a pale light through. I stepped out of the shop, the gifted umbrella above me, the scent of wet earth filling the air, and for the first time that day, I didn't feel like rushing anywhere. I felt like walking slowly through the rain, carrying not just shelter over my head, but a memory of unexpected humanity in my heart. Chapter 3. A Day to Remember. By the time I stepped back onto the street, the rain had faded into a gentle mist. The puddles shimmered like tiny mirrors, reflecting a pale sun that was slowly breaking through the clouds. The city felt different, softer somehow, as if the storm had washed away more than just dust from the sidewalks. I opened the umbrella the man had given me, even though the rain had almost stopped. I wasn't ready to close it yet. It felt like a part of the moment, a reminder of a kindness I hadn't expected. As I walked, I noticed details I had ignored all morning. The smell of wet earth lingered in the air, fresh and calming. The leaves on the trees glistened with droplets, each one catching the light like a tiny jewel. Children jumped over puddles, laughing as their shoes splashed. A woman stood at a corner selling flowers, their colors vibrant against the gray of the day. something inside me felt lighter. Hours ago this day had seemed ordinary, even inconvenient. I had been rushing, distracted, lost in thoughts of deadlines and errands. But now I carried a quiet sense of gratitude, as if the rain had slowed my steps long enough for life to catch up to me. I thought about the stranger in the shop, the way he spoke of plans needing to be ruined sometimes, the warmth in his smile as he handed me the umbrella. He didn't know me. He didn't owe me anything. Yet his small act of generosity had changed the rhythm of my day, and perhaps something deeper within me. Walking on, I felt the urge to pass that kindness along. At the next corner, I saw a little boy tugging at his mother's hand, trying to balance a stack of books that kept slipping. I knelt down, steadying the pile for him. He grinned shyly, his mother nodding a grateful thank you. And in that tiny moment, I felt the same warmth I'd felt in the shop, the gentle power of connection. The clouds began to clear completely, a stretch of blue opening in the sky. Sunlight poured over the streets, turning the leftover raindrops into sparks of light. People started folding their umbrellas, tucking them under their arms. I kept mine open for a while longer, not because I needed to, but because it felt symbolic, like I was carrying a piece of that unexpected encounter with me. By the time I reached my destination, I realized something simple yet profound. Not every day is meant to go according to plan. Sometimes it takes a sudden storm to remind us of beauty, of kindness, of the hidden threads that tie strangers together in fleeting moments. That rainy day could have been just another blur in my life, another routine afternoon washed away by time. Instead, it became a story I knew I would carry with me, a story of a little shop, a stranger's umbrella, and a world that felt new once the rain stopped. I closed the umbrella at last, smiled to myself, and stepped forward with a heart just a little brighter than before.